Scott Snyder has been orchestrating chaos inside the DC universe for almost 2 years now, and this is a keystone moment. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is an Ira Review, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something you need to go back to the comic book shop for or not. Make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book that I want to talk about right now is Justice League Annual #1, and as I was talking about annuals last week, this is one of those situations where annuals have become a key component, or at least inside the Justice League storyline, of the overall greater arcing story. And it's one of those things where we really need to dive into it and see exactly what is explained and how it impacts everything to really feel the weight of this entire issue. And at an annual size, it's pretty weighty. No one would ever accuse Scott Snyder of being at a loss for words, and Justice League Annual #1 with James Tynion IV is no exception. We have our narration that is bringing us out to the source wall where we're looking for the final conclusion, the patching of the actual source wall itself. And this is everything that's been explained inside Dark Knight's Metal, No Justice, and the Justice League book up until this point in time. For many inside this group of Justice League characters, they've never really been out to the source wall. They've never been so close to the edge of existence. But for some, it's more intense. Kendra feeling the vibrations of the universe itself coursing through her wings, and then of course the explanation that Starman gave her as we kind of move forward. His idea, his whole goal to bring the Omega Titans from the No Justice storyline into the actual area around the source wall. The New Gods have brought the Titan of Wonder. Ganthet and the Green Lantern Corps have brought the Titan of Wisdom. The Mystery Titan has been brought forth by the Thanagar fleet that Shi'ara is in charge of. And as these entities, these powers, kind of come close together around the source wall, Kendra is overwhelmed by the anticipation of what is about to happen, as Starman is going to channel that energy of entropy right through her wings and make her the patch, the last of the 4 that are needed to seal the source wall. And we get all this backstory in a sequence of panels over the last 2 weeks, where we actually see how Starman's plot, his plan, is really going through there. If only Hawkgirl had been with them when they were in the No Justice storyline, she would have been able to communicate with the Titans, understand what they were trying to do. The sacrifice of a few worlds to save millions. That is what he was talking about. And now it's up to Hawkgirl to sacrifice herself to make this lasting seal of the source wall happen. And this is a project that has already been put into motion. And as they kind of strap these Omega Titans to the source wall, they're docile. They want to. This is their purpose. When they were brought into this existence, they were defenders of the source wall. They were here as a last line of defense to patch any kind of breaches or breaks inside this capturing device for Perpetua and her minions, her hordes, her loyal followers. And now they are realizing their purpose. They are fulfilling their duty to the multiverse itself. And Kendra has finally resolved herself, taking on this nth metal suit as she flies out into space. She's actually mentally chatting with John Johns. You know, the Martian Manhunter has created this place for her so that way she can feel serene and like she's in some sort of heaven of a reminder of her past lives, which is something that he created for her, knowing that beings inside the source wall would be conscious the entire time. This Justice League Annual #1 is of course a key issue because it explains everything that has been happening so far and exactly why these pieces have been put in place over the last 16 issues. The No Justice storyline, Dark Knight's Metal, everything is kind of gelling cohesively, and we're reaching this final climax of this particular story arc. And as we're about to reach this climactic moment, Brainiac storms in, long thought dead since the No Justice storyline, and it turns out that 2 weeks ago inside the Hall of Doom, this plan was hatched. Everything about this was calculated down to the millionth decimal point by Brainiac as a way to help bring the last remaining energies into the cosmos and blast them into the lock that was holding Perpetua, that was in the possession of the Legion of Doom. And this is the moment they've been waiting for. As Starman kind of reaches out into the universe, trying to collect as much entropy energy as he can and funneling it through Hawkgirl, he is unfortunately taken over by Brainiac. This small mechanical octopus-looking thing just smacks him in the base of his neck, taking over the control of his body and firing all the energy that had gathered into the actual Brainiac ship, the totality inside of it, and all of a sudden, he no longer has this energy. His powers have been shut off, turned to nothingness by this dark god of the cosmos that has long since been dormant, the first creator, the great mother of the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor, as Snyder puts it in his nameless narration. And she was sealed inside the Source Wall, and now she has come back seeking vengeance and never to be imprisoned again. And the one thing that we're kind of curious about, and John Johns relays this later on, who sealed her there in the first place, and how are they going to react? But everything associated with the Source Wall is falling apart. The new gods are no longer any kind of sense of being, since they're creating and intrinsically tied to the Source Wall itself. With the creation and then the eventual unleashing of this massive amount of energy, the Source Wall is punctured all over the place, cracks, fissures, and holes opening, letting through this dark, burning chaos of the outer space. The Omega Titans reaching out, praying that they can succeed when this was all they were designed for. However, we know that they were unfortunately doomed to fail, as the Source Wall itself cracks, explodes, and is no more, leaving the multiverse of the DC Universe adrift. Many people have felt this radiating energy echo out into the distance, like Adam Strange, the younger Darkseid, who's sealed himself off inside the Ghost Zone. Swamp Thing, the Spectre, and of course the House of Heroes, where we see some of the greatest defenders of the multiverse standing there watching, unfortunately unable to do anything, and acknowledging that this is the end. The Thanagarians are going to go back home, defend themselves from any threats as they were before. The Green Lantern Corps is going back to Oa, so that way they can create some sort of centralized support system. As the multiverse decays and is destroyed over the next few months, order must be maintained, and they are up to the task. Starman, powerless, is brought back onside the Javelin, and all they know is that they need to escape. But the key is that Brainiac and Lex Luthor, the Hall of Doom, the Legion of Doom, have accomplished their great task, and that was to free Perpetua, and now they must prepare for war unlike any the multiverse has seen before. And this gets to the heart of what Scott Snyder has probably been planning since Dark Knight's Metal, or, if you think less of Scott Snyder, what he came up with as a solution or a final endgame for Dark Knight's Metal, No Justice, and everything beyond that. But one thing that Scott Snyder does is he goes epic. When it comes to things like this story, No Justice, anything that Scott Snyder has done, he always errs on the side of a grandiose, huge scale kind of event, which can be very welcome for a lot of different readers. It's a very blockbuster movie storytelling style, which I can kind of get behind in a lot of different ways. And the real enhancement here is Daniel Sampere's art. His pencils are solid throughout the entire issue, and it's a real great showcase for his kind of work. On top of that, there are a number of other creators that lended themselves to this. You know, you've got Snyder and Tynion writing it, but then it's the whole amalgamation, the collection of these individuals bringing this together makes it probably one of the better annuals that have come out in recent years. For people that are following along with the Justice League storyline, this is a must-read, and it's going to kind of set other things in motion for 2019, as well as the future of Justice League and the DC Universe itself. Am I really happy with it? I would say that it's one of the more entertaining reads that I've had, and it explains a lot of things that were kind of left up in the air regarding Scott Snyder's Justice League storyline in general. I'm not going to say that it's absolutely the best comic book, but it was well worth the money. But I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.